The following is a Just Green production brought to you by the Might Be News Network.
All right, this week on Let's Talk About It, I have a very interesting first guest, Wanja from Berlin, Germany. How you doing there?
I'm doing excellent.
This is an international interview. I'm so excited. I follow you on Twitter and Instagram. You're doing a blog called I Still Love Her. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Now, is that a play off of the Common song? I used to love her.
Of course it is.
Yes. Okay, that's like one of my favorite songs. I love Common. So as soon as I saw that, I was immediately drawn to it and wanted to learn more about what you were doing. Instead of me telling everybody what you do, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Well, there's a lot. But the main thing I do and how I make a living is I run a promotion and PR agency.
Okay.
So I do PR marketing for artists, only hip hop artists.
Okay.
And I do a lot of social media marketing at this point. I run the I Still Love Her Instagram account, which has become like a part-time job.
I'm sure.
I have a lot of fun with social media. I guess people would still consider me a blogger. That's how I started out, even though I don't really blog in the traditional sense anymore.
Okay.
I do a little bit of radio. I have a merch line. I do a lot of things, but that's,
And it's all hip hop related, pretty much,
yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
One question that I like to ask everybody that I talk to that is into hip hop, even a little bit, is for your top 5 dead or alive. Now, I don't want that answer until the end because I understand that it takes a while to compile that answer and even just to think about it. Doesn't have to be in order either. I read on your blog somewhere that you don't necessarily believe in the idea of a greatest all time because there shouldn't just be one. I think I saw that on there somewhere where it's just I did my homework.
You did.
And I feel that because my top 5 changes all the time. Number one, but I have a GOAT. I have one that I look at as forever the best, and we can talk about that later. But we'll go over that later if you want. But top 5 dead or alive. You told us about yourself. When did you realize that hip hop changed your life? Was it was there a specific artist? Was there a specific song? What was it for you?
I think throughout my life there have been several moments where I felt like that. Like moments where you feel like you're falling in love all over again.
Right.
The first one, and I wasn't really aware of what was happening because I was a kid. But it was when I stole this rap album from my older brother. It was a German rap group. It was the first commercially successful German rap group. And my brother didn't really listen to hip hop, but he had their album on tape and I stole it from him. And I listened to that every day until I knew every single word on every song.
Wow.
And I think that was a moment where I just kind of understood that this was something that I wanted to hear more of.
Sure.
That this was something that highly intrigued me.
That's how I felt too when the first time. I don't remember how old I was, but I grew up in Virginia, and so it was all country and classic rock down there, right? So the first time one of my neighbors was playing 36 Chambers, and And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is that? Like, at first, when I first heard it, it didn't make sense to me. And I was just like, I'll stick to my Guns N' Roses, whatever. Right. and then, years later, I hear I can pinpoint the song and the artist. It was the song Quality Control by Jurassic 5. And it changed my life forever. And then I went back because I could remember the 36 Chamber. I didn't know what it was. I was like, Wu-Tang. I want to listen to Wu-Tang. And Wu-Tang changed everything for me. Like I got a Wu-Tang tattoo, Wu-Tang everything, Wu-Tang. And I've heard you mention in another interview about MySpace is kind of where you got your start, correct?
Yeah.
I call it my
professionally, yeah.
So as far as music marketing and kind of working with other artists, that was your first platform.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Also blogging, interviewing artists, that's where it all started.
What was the first artist that you felt like this is what I want to do? Like, as far as interviewing them, working with them, how did that all play out?
I'm not sure I can say as far as interviews go, but the first one I really wanted to work with was this duo from Detroit. And I met them on MySpace.
Okay.
Now, at that time, it wasn't so oversaturated with artists sending their music out. It wasn't so spammy yet at that time. So sometimes artists would send me music and they send me some, and I was just blown away. In hindsight, it was like it was just that Detroit sound, but I didn't know yet that Detroit sound was so special to me.
Right.
And yeah, they went by Black Rain and Old Kane. And I started managing them shortly after.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the first group that really had me compelled to work with them. To push
what you were trying to do further, right? It's very cool. Now that you mentioned the Detroit sound, would you say that you have, because there's obviously distinct differences between West Coast vibe, Midwest, Detroit, Chicago vibe, and obviously there's a difference between New York sound and the South sound. Do you have a favorite vibe? Is there just a go-to that every time you hear that kind of production, you're just like, I can't skip this song no matter what?
East Coast has always been my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And then Detroit just has a special place in my heart.
Okay.
But East Coast generally, if I don't know what to listen to, I'll just throw in some East Coast.
Right.
And I'm good with that.
Right. Just it's there's something about the pianos and the casual drum beats, and whereas the West Coast is just kind of a little bit more, it's still laid back for the most part, but there's nothing, to me, there's something about the East Coast production that just stands out to me.
Well, it's just, it really, the sound really represents the location, because East Coast sounds very gritty and raw and kind of dark, and in West Coast you can definitely hear the sun.
Yes.
You can hear the climate.
Yes, you can hear the climate. I've always said there's that signature sound of the West Coast beats that is the heat raising off of the concrete. It's just the waves, when you're looking at it, and it's just hot and it's just heat everywhere. That's what I've always thought of when I think of Tupac, when I listen to Dr. Dre, NWA, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now, this is an interesting question. Do you ever find that men are ever intimidated by your vast knowledge of hip hop as a woman?
Yeah, because they are not willing to accept that a woman could possibly know more about hip hop than them.
Right.
And that's almost every man I meet.
I'm sure. I saw one of your shirts on your merch there that it says female hip hop head and the females crossed out. I think that's pretty cool. My wife surprises me sometimes when we're listening to throwbacks or something, and all of a sudden she'll start rapping along with whoever's on, and I'm just like, what? But like I just don't. I feel like hip hop is generally and always kind of has been run by dudes, hard gangster, whatever. And it's always interesting to talk to women, at least for me, about hip hop, because a lot of hip hop also like objectifies women and kind of talks down about them.
Yeah, but people always bring that up to me because I also am a feminist and I'm an activist. Mm-hmm. And I actively fight sexism and sexual violence and all this stuff. So a lot of people come to me and ask me like, how can you be into hip-hop and a part of hip-hop culture when it's so incredibly degrading to women? But the reality is that the world is degrading to women. Yes. Wow. Like what happens in hip-hop as far as sexism is not much different than what happens in the woman's everyday life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sometimes it might be a little bit more magnified, but what dudes are saying on records, dudes are saying on the street too. And to women's faces.
Right. And on social media, all in the DMs and the comment sections and stuff like that.
Right. So if I didn't want to be objected to that, I would have to leave Earth. So
for real. That's incredible, actually. That's a very, very good statement there, because it's so true. And when I was first exposed to hip hop, that was one thing that stuck out to me, was like, well, damn, like bitches, hoes. I'm like, damn, this is way out of left field for me, from like my upbringing and wanting to respect women and being taught those values. It was like totally different. But like I looked at it kind of as, and I've always looked at hip hop this way, and it's why I feel like it's so interesting, is because it's a gateway. It's not even a gateway, it's more like a window into a different life, a different lifestyle, a different place. You listen to NWA and you can feel what it's like where they were, and the racial climate, the police brutality issues, and then you listen to Ghostface and you can hear what's going on in the Stapleton projects. You can hear like them kind of wrapping around flaming trash cans with Mobb Deep in their videos. Like you can hear that and not just have to see it. And that's always been something that's interested me, is just because you get to see that. Not so much now. I feel like not many people kind of paint those pictures, at least on a mainstream level anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. I feel like, do you really have a lot of mainstream rap nowadays that you listen to, or do you feel like you're constantly kind of going backwards with it?
I mean, honestly, like I listen to a lot of current rap. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, they've only made real hip hop in the 90s.
Yeah,
like,
an old head. You're not an old head yet.
No, I listen to a lot of current stuff. Some of it is mainstream and some of it isn't. I don't care if something is mainstream or not. I know there are a lot of hip hop heads or purists, especially, who have a problem with the sole effect of something selling a lot of records. Like that makes it a sellout or something. But I really don't care. I think there's some dope stuff on the mainstream. If you look at like Kendrick Lamar.
Right. Yep.
Shit like that is super dope. He's pushing a positive message. He's political in his raps. And I honestly, people are always like, oh, there's nothing dope on the radio anymore. But I don't think the way that hip hop is portrayed on the radio has changed at all since the 80s. I think that it's always been like this. Like you might have like a couple of dope artists on the radio, but you'll have a lot of bullshit.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think that's ever going to change either, right? It's just it's
No, I mean, they look at, these label execs and the radio and whoever. Of course, they are going to look at what is going to bring us the biggest numbers. And the general public are not hip hop heads who are interested in real hip hop. They just want something to bounce to or whatever. So that's why on the radio you're gonna hear pop music and you're gonna hear party rap and whatever. It caters to a completely different audience.
right.
So I think it's just a little bit narrow-minded to even expect that from the radio.
Right, because if they played 50 songs, different songs an hour instead of 10, it would be almost too much variety. They wouldn't be able to focus their numbers into one specific place. I mean, you can't.
I mean, that's the difference between Europe and the US. Like over here, the radio is very different. Like they play different music all the time. They don't play the same songs.
Right. It's not the same Cardi B song every 20 seconds, it feels like.
Not at all.
Oh my God. It drives me nuts. I can't even really listen to rap radio around here. I can't do it. I listen to like the morning shows, like the Breakfast Club, whatever. But it drives me nuts. Because I know that there's so much more out there that people aren't hearing on a mainstream level that's just so much better. I've always kind of considered myself personally somewhat of a hip hop purist, but like I've tried to keep an open mind, certainly in the past 5 years or so, with different artists and trying to get into them. And it's hard though, because even still none of them end up on the radio really. Like Anderson .Paak, for example. I feel like Anderson .Paak could be literally a radio sensation.
Is he not on the radio over there?
Not on regular FM radio. No, that's
crazy because I'm sure I don't listen to the radio, so I don't know, but I'm sure that he's on the radio over here.
Yeah, to my knowledge, pretty much everybody I talk to, I'm just like, you got to check out Anderson .Paak. They're like, who? And I'm blown away by it because of just the level of talent with him and his band even and his different project, the No Worries and everything. It's just he's already got 3 incredible projects out and nobody knows about him. I feel like when I post about him on Facebook and Instagram, I have like 2 people that I know that are just like, I love that song or I love this guy. Everybody else is like, who the hell is this guy? And that stuff like that bothers me. Like IDK is another one where I feel like nobody knows this guy. It's just Flatbush Zombies is another one that I love, but I feel like nobody listens to.
Well, I think with Anderson, the thing is, his music is too niche. Like, he's incredible. I love him so much. He's so talented, but he does not make pop music.
Right.
And he also doesn't his music is not R&B enough to be on the radio.
Okay.
Like it's not clear cut R&B. It's like it's soul and it's funk and it's some hip hop in there. So it's too niche to hit the US radio. And the same thing with Flatbush Zombies. Like they are dope, but they are too niche for the radio. Like the radio is only interested in pop music.
Right.
And some rap music falls into that genre, like the Migos or whatever.
Drake, yeah.
Yeah. They could make pop songs. If you look at somebody like Drake, he makes songs that are specifically pop songs for the radio. Not all of his music is like that, but some of it is, and then that lands on the radio, and that's
Right. I always say that Drake is the Beyonce of hip hop. I feel like that's just like where he is because he's the top, in my opinion, and obviously record sales, whatever, or streaming. I shouldn't say that because like record sales barely exist anymore, but he's up there, right? And obviously with the ghostwriting and all this controversy with Drake, I just put him up there I set him aside rappers or people like Drake, I kind of set aside from the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Coles, because you have to, right? Do you feel that way?
I mean, with Drake, it's difficult for me now to even think about Drake because I have an issue with him that goes beyond music.
Oh.
And that's his very problematic behavior with women that are way too young for him.
Yes.
So that's where I drew the line. Like I always liked Drake. I always told people I think Drake is super talented. He does come from a hip hop background. Like when he first came out, he was shouting out Dilla on a track. He was making music with Lil Brother. Like he comes from hip hop.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that. And he's super talented.
Yes.
So I always thought he was dope. Like not all the music he made I rock with, but a lot of it I did. But now I'm like, I can't fuck with a grown man that dates 17-year-olds and grooms 13-year-olds. Like I can't fuck with that.
Yeah, I was reading a bunch of stuff about that, and I was kind of blown away by it, but almost like not surprised though either. Like I just got this. I don't know. I don't hate on Drake. I let me correct myself. I hate on Drake quite often, but I don't hate his music. You know, there's a difference. I just kind of get this kind of scumbag vibe from him, and then when I read that stuff, I was like, wow, like it all kind of makes sense. I definitely don't like this guy. But like you said, I do consider him really talented. He's a great entertainer. I wish he'd take these stupid vests off I see on his live show with the Instagram. I think he looks dumb. But that's just my personal preference.
Maybe he's trying not to get shot by some girl's father.
I don't know. It's crazy. He's been making a lot of headlines recently with when he basically talked to LeBron James on his HBO show called The Shop.
Yeah.
And on that, he was talking about the Pusha T beef, which I love Push. He mentioned kind of in there where he felt like there should have been rules, not so much in those words exactly, but that's what's been the big talk this past week all over the place. People are debating whether or not rap beef should have rules. And I find it strange that the most emotional rapper of all time, at least in the mainstream era, is the one that's generating this debate. What do you think? Does rap beef need rules?
Well, I think rap beef, no, does not need rules. However, I think we need human decency. Okay. So, on a rap beef level, I can't hold that against Push, that line about 40. I can't, it's rap beef, pretty much anything goes. However, on a personal level, I can look at Push like, yo, like that's not cool. Right. It's gonna make me look at you a little bit differently, but that's because I'm a highly empathetic human being, Not everybody's gonna feel that way. But yeah, I think rap beef is rap beef. There are no rules.
There should be it's just this pure lyrical combat, right? Obviously, to me, a rule would be don't pull up to somebody after a rap song and beat them up or shoot them, obviously.
But that's not even part of
that's not even the thing
beef anymore. Then you're taking it to a different level.
A different level, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel like Push took it too far with exposing Drake's son?
I think he had that information. I mean, once again, I think human decency, I think that's not really that cool to do. But, he had that information, and in a beef, you're going to use whatever information you have. Yeah. So if there's some information about you that you don't want to come out, you're going to have to be very careful who you share that information with.
Which apparently late in the week, Push revealed on the Joe Budden podcast that he got that information whispered down the lane from 40.
Yeah, well, from the woman that 40 was sleeping with.
Right. which is pretty intense stuff. I don't know. I'm curious how Drake feels about that. Just real quick before we take a break, who do you think won that? Do you think Push won that battle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I like Drake's track. What was it called now? Whatever it was called.
It was dope.
It was dope.
I forgot what it was called too, but it was dope, definitely. But then after Push came out with that, there was nothing. That was it. So Push won that one.
And to me, I I heard whatever the Drake song was, right? And then I was sitting on the couch just watching TV. I go through Instagram, and all of a sudden I see a picture of Drake in blackface, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then when I heard the song, I was like, well, this is over. I don't understand how this could go further than this.
And I mean, if you think about it, the fact that we cannot remember the name of the Drake song, and I can't remember anything from that song. I just remember that I liked it. Right. But I can't remember one line. I can't remember anything. Oh yeah, I remember about Push's wife. But anyway, the fact that we can't remember anything about that, but we know exactly the name of Push's song, we know lines from that song, that already tells you that he won.
Yeah. All right. I agree. I agree 100% with that. Let's take a quick break. We're going to be right back with more Let's Talk About It with Wanja right after this.
Check out Relatable Radio on the Might Be News Network.
On iTunes and SoundCloud.
New episodes every Tuesday.
Oh!
This is a mom confession. All right, I forgot to pick Landon up from school.
Only one day?
One day.
Okay.
All right, but I was at the bus stop. I forgot to pick him up at school.
So you were making an effort. It's not like you were out partying.
Right.
Yeah.
This has ruined. And it's bringing up.
In 30 years, he's going to bring that up to you.
It was awful. Like, I was 30 minutes late, and the teacher's like, oh, I told him you were late because you were probably going back to school night for your kindergarten. I was like, yes. Yes, that's the night.
Oh.
That's exactly why I was late. I was watching Ellen. No,
of course
not.
not.
I didn't make coffee and sit on the couch. No, not at all.
All right, we're back with Wanja. I've got a little thing that I like to do called Underrated, Overrated, where I give you a rapper and you tell me if they're underrated or overrated. Let's start with Joe Budden. Do you think he's underrated or overrated?
As a rapper?
Yes,
underrated.
As a rapper. What did you say?
Underrated.
Underrated? I agree.
Yeah.
Do you think that his retirement is a cop-out? Do you think that it's kind of dumb that he's retired right now?
Nah, I think what we saw with Joe Budden is really incredible, because who would have thought, 10 years ago, who would have thought that Joe Budden would be one of the main spokespeople in hip-hop that we have right now?
Yeah, it's true.
Pump it up, Joe Budden. We would have never thought that. He made an amazing career for himself, and he found a place that fits him so well. I think he really found something that he's passionate about and that he really enjoys doing, and so that's all that matters.
I agree. The only caveat to that for me is that he's very outspoken, as anybody who has ever heard or known Joe Budden knows. He's very outspoken. But I feel like he tries to start beef on his podcasts or his shows with these rappers by giving his very harsh sometimes opinions, such as most recently with Eminem and the Kamikaze album and this and that. And then I just feel like, this would be a great battle, but Joe Budden's retired. Because
I think.
Go ahead.
I think I saw a lot of people in the comments on my page talking about, Joe Budden is retired, so he knows he couldn't have a beef with him, so that's his cop out that he's retired anyway. But the thing is, he is now one of the most listen to hip hop media, and as hip hop media, you're gonna talk about projects, and like you're gonna talk about releases, you're gonna talk about artists, and if something is trash, you should call it trash. Like,
right, I agree with that. Yeah, it's just tough because in a media sense, not all media members are as good as of a rapper as Joe Budden. Like, to me, the MGK Eminem thing was like, it was dumb. I mean, it was okay, cool, these are cool tracks.
Yeah.
But as soon as Joe Budden opened his mouth, I was like, this is the pay-per-view fight. This is the one that like everybody wants. But then the sad part is that it's not going to happen. So that's where I'm at with Joe Budden. I love Joe Budden, and I agree with 85% of the stuff that comes out of his mouth. But I just wish that he would just at least battle Eminem. Just do it. Just lose the Eminem, because that's probably what would happen. But just do it. It'd be fun.
I think he knows that he has nothing to gain from that, because he's at the top of his career right now. Like, he has nothing to gain from beefing with M on wax.
That's true. You're probably right. I just mentioned him. MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, underrated or overrated?
Are we talking before that diss track or after?
Just all time, your personal opinion of him.
I mean, I think he's whack. So
I do too.
I really don't know. Like, I don't know how people rate him, so I don't know if he's over or underrated. I would say he probably can't be underrated because he's whack. So I think anyone who rates him low is fair in their assessment. I saw a lot of talk after that diss track. I felt like people were completely overrating that track. It was like they gave him points for going at Eminem, which, okay, that's cool. But the track itself was not, I mean, for MGK, it was a lot better than all the shit that he had done before. But on a regular scale, that shit was not it. Yeah. Especially not when when you're going against Eminem. Right. Like, you better be on M's level or at least somewhere close,
So the obvious answer to my next question to you would be that Eminem won that battle.
Yes. And I don't even like Eminem, but yes.
You don't like Eminem? You're not an Eminem fan?
No, I'm not a fan at all. I mean, the thing is, I completely acknowledge his talent. Mm-hmm. He is one of the most talented rappers there is. Absolutely. However, I can't deal with his voice. Like, he just gives me a headache. Yeah. And it's just too aggressive. Like, he's just like it's like stressful to listen to him. Yeah. Because it's so whiny. Like, his voice is so whiny. I just can't listen to him.
And you know what's crazy? Like, even on his like softer songs, if you want to say that, he still personally sounds super aggressive, which is like this weird vibe. It takes the tone of the song away. Like, he basically had a Beyonce ballad on his on the one album that nobody liked.
That horrible album.
It was so bad. And I liked Kamikaze. Juice. I enjoyed Kamikaze. It was certainly better than whatever that was. But I also, by the end of it, I'm like, all right, dude, so I hated your album, because I had like this weird vibe about it, because the whole time on Kamikaze, I felt like he was talking shit to me because I hated the other one, So I'm just like, all right, dude, I get it. I'm sorry, and it was just like this weird vibe. But all right, moving on. We mentioned him, Drake. Underrated, overrated?
It depends on who we ask. I think in hip hop circles, he's definitely underrated.
Okay. We mentioned the rules. Kanye West as a rapper. Underrated, overrated?
As a rapper, I can't. I have too many personal feelings about him right now to even.
You and everyone else.
Kanye.
He's all over the place. He's all over the place.
I think, do people really rate him as a rapper that much?
I mean, it's weird, because to me, Kanye is one of the greatest producers ever. But like, I try to differentiate his beats from his raps because, and that all really started for me with the song Runaway featuring Pusha T. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest beat. I love that beat. I love the hook. Pusha does great on it. But then Kanye just sucks so bad on that song. And I feel like that was almost a turning point for him where he just sucked from then on out to me as a rapper. Like, it's just crazy. I listen to...
I feel like...
Go ahead.
I feel like it's kind of hit or miss with Kanye. Like, sometimes, like, as a rapper, sometimes he's really good. Like, sometimes it just works, and then sometimes it's just really whack. But he is bipolar, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so. Apparently. According to... he told Donald Trump a little different. He's like, I was misdiagnosed. I don't even know. Oh. It's so nuts. I don't know, Vanya. He is, to me... everybody's like, he needs help. Like, I think he's just really... something's broken. I don't know, man. I think that Kanye West sees that everybody's paying attention. He's got an album coming out in about a month.
Absolutely.
And I think that, he's just trying to kind of... He went from 0 to 100 as far as being back in the public eye. Because he was gone for like a year or more. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom.
And, I mean, he does have he is a narcissist. And the thing is, he's a Gemini. I'm a Gemini. Like, I get it. I get Geminis. Like, I see it when I see it, Yeah,
yeah.
And he's a very narcissistic person, and he loves the attention, And I'm not sure how much of it is for the attention and how much of it is what he actually believes. Mm-hmm. But we're never going to know that. That's not even for us to decide. It is what it is. I think the only thing is I wish that he would understand the responsibility he has to all the young people that watch him and admire him. And I just wish he would make better choices for the good of the people.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's crazy now. I mentioned earlier about the record sales basically don't exist anymore. It's all streaming now, and you get paid some sort of whatever through all that. And I think that it's crazy because if you think about it, Kanye's big enough to where he can say and do whatever he wants, get all the controversy that he wants, such as what he's doing right now. And people like me who hate on literally every move that he's been making recently, I'm still going to stream his stupid album that comes out on Black Friday.
Of course, because you want to know what shit he's going to be talking about.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter to him.
We all want to know.
Yeah. Because
this shit works perfectly. It's perfect marketing. Like, for me, from a PR standpoint.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Right. Especially since people don't actually have to spend money to buy his album anymore. And that's what I'm getting at, because you pay the $10 a month for Apple Music or whatever streaming service you're using. Doesn't matter what you listen to. I'll give Kanye West 45 minutes of my time to figure out if I like his new album or not. It's crazy.
Right.
My last underrated, overrated artist for you is Black Thought. Underrated, overrated.
Underrated. He can never be... it's impossible for him to be overrated because he should be rated the highest one can be rated.
He is my GOAT, the greatest of all time. My top 5 changes all the time, but my number 1 does not. I'm 45 minutes away from Philly right now. That's where I'm at. So of course I got the Philly connection, but just... Oh my God, Black Thought is the greatest lyricist ever, in my opinion. I mean, Rakim kind of is on a whole nother level himself. There's no one else close to Rakim. I don't even put Rakim in my top 5 because I hold him. He's the God. He's the God. He's the one who kind of started everything. But Black Thought, non-Rakim, is the greatest to me. And you feel that way as well?
Well, he's in my top 5.
Yeah. I just think that he's always played with a band. The Roots are just incredible. And
they are the greatest hip-hop band that exists.
Mm-hmm. And now you see artists are touring with bands and stuff like that to play their records. I just saw J. Cole a couple weeks ago, and he had a band. Kendrick Lamar had a band when I saw him. And
Anderson .Paak has a band.
Right. A lot of headliners are touring with them now, and you think about it, Black Thought's been doing it for decades.
Yeah,
it's nuts. Okay, so let's just have fun with this. The most overrated artist to you right now, or in the history? Like, is there an artist that sticks out to you, just like everybody loves them? I don't. I just don't get it.
I think Eminem, and that's not as far as his rap skills go, right? So I don't think people overrate him on his rap skills because, like I said, he's incredible.
Right.
But I think, and I've talked about this before on my social media, and I got a lot of hate for it from white people.
I'm sure.
Where I think people overrate him is there's a lot of white people who claim that he's the GOAT, but the thing is they don't really listen to rap. So they have nothing to compare him to, and I think it's completely irresponsible to award a white rapper to be the greatest of all time of a black culture when you don't even know who he's up against.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of people who overrate him in that sense, who just like easily give him the title of greatest rapper of all time. Because they either don't know any better or, I mean, let's face it, with white privilege, there's a lot of white people who like to see a white person in that top spot. And they subconsciously or consciously feel like, oh, well, look, here's a white man who mastered this black culture. He's the king of it, and it's irresponsible and it's complete bullshit.
It is. It's crazy. I agree. Wow, that's a great answer. Most underrated artist.
Honestly, not sure. With Black Thought, I don't even think he's underrated. I think he's underappreciated.
Yes.
And I think like people who know Black Thought, they would never underrate him. It's just that not enough people are aware of Black Thought.
Okay. I would, and the first artist that came to my mind when I thought of this question was Big Crit. I feel like he's so good and just like he doesn't get much play. Like I don't hear people talk about him. Him and Anderson .Paak, at least over here. You're saying he's more popular in Europe?
He's pretty popular over here. Like I went to his show a few months ago. That show was sold out quick. It was a very big venue. It was so packed. The people were going crazy.
That's awesome.
And that was the second time I had seen him here. Like the time before that was like 2 years ago, and that shit was sold out. So he's doing very well over here.
That's awesome.
But I think Lupe is very underrated. Okay. I don't know if he's the most, but I think he's very underrated.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. His new album was really good. Yeah, his new album.
Yeah, and exactly. It's amazing. It's definitely in my top 5 albums of the year. And I feel like I don't see anyone talk about it, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Next thing I want to do is called Versus, where I'm just going to throw out one rapper versus another, and you give me your personal opinion on who you think is better.
Okay.
First one is Big Daddy Kane versus KRS-One. What do you think?
I have personal feelings about KRS, so I gotta go with Big Daddy.
That's okay. I go Big Daddy Kane as well. He's just one of the best ever. Jay-Z versus Nas.
I cannot do that.
Dead tie for you?
Yes, because I love Jay-Z so much. He's one of my favorite rappers ever. I love him so much. But Nas, of course, is incredible. I think they are just very different.
Yeah.
I know people like to compare those two all the time, but I don't think they are that similar to even compare.
The next one is kind of an obvious one. Tupac versus Biggie. Where are you at on that?
Biggie.
Okay. Yep. Wu-Tang versus G-Unit.
What? Come on.
See, I can't think of much to compare Wu-Tang to. I'm just like, who else could be better than Wu-Tang?
Maybe a Tribe.
Tribe. I thought about that, but I was just like, I kind of put Tribe on a different level too. It's kind of weird. But I know that I personally know a lot of people that would probably pick G-Unit because they don't like the offbeat kind of RZA kind of vibe. And G-Unit was more kind of a poppy, not even poppy, but more mainstream, I should say, approach.
More accessible.
Yeah. But I'm Wu-Tang all day on that one. Let's see. Mobb Deep versus Outkast. Outkast, okay. For sure. Let's see. Mobb Deep is like, I love both those groups so much. That one's tough for me to pick.
I love Mobb Deep too, but Outkast are way more, like they did way more shit that nobody had done before them.
Right. Very, very inventive with their style and different, they have so many different vibes. I agree.
And Andre.
Yeah. Andre is like one of the greatest ever to do it ever.
Yes.
I wish that he was doing more. I wish so much that they were doing more. I heard Big Boy on Tom Morello's new album, and I was just like, oh my God, I miss Outkast. I miss Outkast so much.
Me too.
Okay, so that's the last of the verses. Let's wrap this up. Favorite show you've ever been to?
There's a lot. Like, The Roots is up there.
Yeah.
Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Oh, I bet that was awesome. I missed them when they came to Philly.
Yeah, I went to see them twice in Amsterdam on my birthday.
Oh,
and then in Berlin. It was fucking incredible. Like, I mean, they are,
legends. Literally living legends.
Fucking incredible.
Now, this one might be a little difficult for you, but album of the year so far for you?
I don't think I can pinpoint it to one. Like I said, Lupe is up there. Also, I think I would have to go back and look at the list because, I mean, we're towards the end of the year, so I'm kind of forgetting about the stuff that came out early in the year. But
sure,
it's been such a crazy year for hip hop. Like, so many incredible releases. It's gonna be really, really hard to make a list.
One that I can think of that I continuously go back and listen to, cover to cover, at least twice a week, is J-Rock's Redemption.
Oh yes, that's up there.
I love that album. I love it so much.
Crazy.
He's just got such a cool vibe. Like I love his voice, the way that he talks about things, and he's amazing. Let's see. Is there an album that was the most disappointing to you in 2018?
I was very disappointed with Scorpion.
Okay.
Because I was actually looking forward to that.
Okay.
I thought it was gonna be very good. Like, I felt like he was at a point there where he had a lot to prove. And I thought he was going to use this album to go completely in and kill shit entirely.
Okay.
And I listened to it and I remember it was me and my friend. We were on our way to this hip hop festival. We had a 5-hour ride and we were both so excited to listen to this in the car. And we're starting to listen to it and we're through the first disc and we're like, Then we get to the second, and at the half, we're like, okay, should we turn this off? Because like I'm about to fall asleep. Like, I'm really bored right now. And it was just too much. I was super disappointed.
That's a good one. I wasn't a huge fan of it either. My probably most disappointing so far was the Nasir album. The 7 songs. It was just kind of like, come on, man. This should have been better than this. Let's see. Let's go back to your top 5 dead or alive.
So this is for today.
Okay.
Because it changes all the time.
Sure.
Andre, Black Thought, Biggie, Jay-Z, who's gonna get that last spot?
The infamous last spot.
Alright, we'll give it to Nas.
Okay.
There we go.
That's a very solid list. Vanya.
And then
go ahead.
I always have to name my number 1 favorite producer, Jay Dilla.
Okay. Yeah. It's either him or Premier. I don't even know. That's so tough. And I throw RZA in there too, just because RZA changed. He did his own thing, and he's still continuing to do the exact opposite of what is mainstream.
Yeah.
So where can people find you on Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff?
Basically everything is I Still Love Her. On Instagram it's istillloveher.de. On Twitter it's I Still Love Her. On my website is istillloveher.de. Facebook, but nobody goes there anymore. But it's also I Still Love Her. Just I Still Love Her.
Awesome. Vanya, this was a lot of fun. I really thank you so much for being here with me today, all the way from Berlin. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And that wraps up the first episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Taylor Cooper. Thanks so much for listening. Shout out to my great guest this week, Vanya, over there in Berlin. You can find her at istillloveher.de or I Still Love Her on Twitter. Check her out. She's got a lot of great hip-hop content. Check us out next time. MBNnetwork.com. Peace.